Natasha Denona worth a kidney, your firstborn child, and a pact with the Fae? Hi friends, hi, my name is Mia and this is my virtual vanity, a place where we both love makeup and we're quite critical of it. And today I'm going to try and answer the very important question of, is Natasha Denona worth an arm and a leg? Today I am reviewing her $65 palette, the Sunrise palette. This is what she looks like. And I'm going to show you some swatches in a jiffy. Then after the swatches, I'm going to show you how I created this look right here. And we are going to talk about my opinion on the palette, the various formulas that are inside, and its workability basically. And if it is, or it is not, worth $65 fucking dollars. I'm going to take a very fluffy blending brush and apply Morning into the crease. And with another fluffy blending brush, I'm going to apply Morgan, one of my favorite shades, into the outer V. With a flat brush, I'm going to take the shade Carnelian and place it on the outer third edge of my lid. I'm going to take a bit of Jasper on a shader brush and place it again in the outer third of my eye. People often ask me why I don't do more tutorials or 3 looks on palettes, and that's because I'm blind as fuck and it's hard for me to actually do makeup like this and not literally 1 inch from the mirror. It's not the most comfortable position for me and I don't see the best in this tiny mirror, so I tend to fuck up more. With a tiny flat brush, I'm going to apply Carnelian on the lower lash line. With a finger, I'm going to take agate and put it all over the lid. And because I can't resist doing even one look without the aster, I'm going to take it on the pad of my finger and place it in the middle of the lid. and also a bit in the inner corners, because why not? Back. Let's talk about this palette. You've got here a variety of shades, all created to, you know, make the perfect sunrise slash sunset eye. I find it very versatile. You can create both very neutral looks, I would say. One shadow looks, two shadow looks, also something that is very warm, very colorful. Overall, I feel that this is quite a well-designed color story and a very versatile color story too. I wanted this palette for the better part of a year and a half, ever since it came out, and it took me a long time to convince myself to actually bite the bullet, because $65, no matter the way you put it, is expensive, especially for someone like me that doesn't live in a country with a currency as strong as the US dollar. And I've been using it non-stop ever since I got it, trying to answer for myself and for you guys, was it worth me drooling over it for months and months and months? Was it worth my $65? Let's talk a little bit about the various formulas in this palette, and while I talk about it, I'm gonna show you guys various looks that I did with it. The mattes. The lighter mattes are absolutely gorgeous. I love them. They are so easy to blend, and they are beautiful on their own or blended with each other, especially if you use a fluffy blender brush and use a watercolor method where you go from light to darkest. The darkest mattes, you need a lighter hand with them. They do have a tendency for fallout. I haven't experienced any patchiness with them, but I also work very lightly with very little product and then build up. You may have a different experience if you use a stamping method where you put the base color very strongly at first and then blend out. Let's talk about the shimmers. So while I have no complaints about the mattes, the shimmers I'm kind of 50-50 on. They're not my favorite formula regarding shimmers. You've got these very ready toned shimmers, Poppy and Phlox, that I feel kind of end up looking more or less the same. They just have a slight tinge in undertone, and so I mean, it's a $65 palette. I really would not want two shades to look so similar. Most of the shades of the shimmers, they're a very thick, creamy type of shimmer, which is not my favorite style. I prefer thinner shimmers that take maybe a bit to build up, but that I can have more control over. These are heavily pigmented from the get-go. I have had good experiences applying them with both my fingers, where they turn full opacity, and the brush, if you use a brush, and I tend to prefer a flat brush for that, like a cat's tongue brush, they start to become thinner, more translucent, more malleable, and easy to work with. My favorite is Aster, which works best applied with a finger and has a more translucent base. You can use it on its own, but you can use it on top of other shadows like I did in my earlier look, and then that kind of changes the whole look accordingly. My least favorite shades would have to be Poppy and Phlox. Phlox mainly because I don't know, it doesn't seem like a very flattering shade of red, but that's just me nitpicking. Something that I have to say about this formula is that the shimmers tend to be very flaky. I think it's because they're so dense. And then the mattes tend to have a lot of kick up in the pan, and you also have to be careful how much you pick up, because they tend to oversaturate the brush with pigment. So if you don't know what you're doing, you can very well end up with a splotch of color on your eyes that you will have a harder time blending out, simply because they're so jam-packed with pigment. Especially the ones like the darker ones like Jasper, Glory, Clove. I had less issues with Morgan, Morning, Carnelian, and Citrine. Citrine is a bit of an anemic yellow. Carnelian, absolutely gorgeous. and Morgan is one of my favorite shades in the palette. As I mentioned, I have enjoyed the formulas and I like using it and I like the looks that came out of it, but objectively, is it so unique? I would say no. I would say the mattes from my favorite brand, Nabla, I like working more with. Also like Zoeva mattes for a bit of a similar quality and they're even more dummy proof. For the shimmers, they are beautiful shimmers, but they're nothing that I have not encountered in many other indie brands, such as Sydney Grace. It depends on what you're looking for in the end. To be honest, holding a Natasha Denona palette in my hand feels very luxurious. This is heavy, pretty packaging. The names on the packaging are evocative, like the color story is very pretty, and you know you will feel like a luxurious bitch if you hold a high-end expensive product in your hand. It's just the way of life, man. We are superficial, vain creatures that love pretty shiny things.
I wonder how much of my praise is me having Stockholm Syndrome because I paid $65 fucking on this palette.
However, if you like just a couple of the colors in her color stories, I would advise against getting the palette. I would advise just get yourself singles from your favorite brand, get yourself some Sydney Grace, any other indie brand that makes similarly really pigmented shades. Do I regret buying this palette? Oh, honestly, I don't know. I enjoy it, but I'm also thinking I spent $65 on a stupid palette, and what other things could I have bought for $65? What other small brands I could have supported for that amount of money, you know? It really depends on your priorities. I am not of the school of thought that, says that Natasha Denona is entirely unique, that you cannot ever experience anything unlike her palette. It's a makeup palette. I've had worse, I've had better. It all depends on your makeup preferences, what you want out of your shimmers, what you want out of your mattes, the color stories that you like to use, your budget. But I really don't think that Natasha Denona is the next coming of Jesus. There, I said it. I will probably get flayed for this in the comments by some Natasha Denona stan, but I have to be true to my heart. Natasha Denona isn't the most unique, the most genius thing that I have ever come across on the market. I am not better or enlightened by having bought this palette. I just had my curiosity satisfied, and yes, do I enjoy it? Yes. Is it the most unique thing ever? Nah. For another review that I found really, really useful, I would recommend watching Teresa is Dead's review, and I will link it and her channel down below, because she went in on this palette, and I think that's also due to our different ways of doing makeup. She really drags this palette to filth, both the shimmers and some mattes. So if you really want to make an informed purchase, I would suggest checking out her review as well, because I did not expect her to be so critical of it, but yeah, no, she gave poor Natasha a beating. She really did. These have been my thoughts. Feel free to share yours in the comments down below, either by dragging me for daring to say that this is not the next coming of Makeup Jesus, or agreeing with me, or discussing, have you ever tried Natasha Denona? Do you feel she's worth the price point? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to have a wonderful morning, evening, second breakfast, third lunch, whatever it is you're from. Bye!